All right, so this fanfiction idea just kind of came to me because I love Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. It's probably one of the greatest horror comedies ever. So yeah, here we are with Ed, Edd and Eddy Meet Frankenstein, or whatever I'm going to call this. I've got a few ideas, but that's the one I'm going with right now. So our story begins with the Eds basically putting together a haunted house, even though it's summer. And to which, Double D points this out. He's like, Eddy, I don't think this is going to work. Like, there's no way that anyone is going to really fall for this. Like, it's also, we should be doing this in the fall. Like, this would make more sense if this was, like, closer to Halloween. I'd even be fine, with how much Halloween Horror Nights is making, appearing more and more. I would be more at peace with this, doing this in at least August. To which Eddy's like, I didn't write this script. You keep writing. You keep working. So they're trying to they're making like costumes and, bad animatronic monsters. And they're also trying to keep Ed from touching everything because they're afraid he's going to break it all after his last Monster Ed, shall we say, fiasco. So they're basically trying to get it all done and keeping Ed distracted. Unfortunately, that doesn't go well because Ed sees the facade and immediately is like, I get to be a monster again, and just goes completely hog wild and proceeds to tear the whole place apart, and also going on a bit of a rampage. Thankfully, he runs out deep into the forest rather than into the cul-de-sac. So Eddy and Double D have to be like, all right, let's go get Monobrow. Let's bring him back so we can, and then I'll kill him. So Eddy and Ed follow Ed into the forest. They basically follow like a whole trail of destruction that he's leaving behind. It's just absolute like woods being pushed apart and things like that. And eventually, they come upon they go so deep into the forest that even like Double D has this moment of, Eddy, this doesn't feel like is it just me or does it feel like a lot more foreboding than usual? Like, doesn't this all feel just the tiniest tad of we're too far from the cul-de-sac? And Eddy's just like, I don't know, I don't care. Just let's get Ed. So eventually they come upon this they've gone so far into the forest that they've come upon a massive castle in the middle of the forest, and immediately Double D's like, this should not, architecturally speaking, exist. Like, there's no way that should be there and we've not noticed. And to which Eddy's like, yeah, it's almost like the plot's telling us to suspend disbelief, so maybe you should do that, Double D, so we can have a story. So Eddy's like, Double D's like, right. Eddy points out that like the tracks to where Ed is he's gone into this castle. He's wandered in there, and Double D's like, maybe we should come back and have a search party or whatever. And he's like, nope, I came all the way here. I'm not double backing. Let's just get Monobrow. And also Eddy gets the idea that like, for screw trying to make like a whole haunted house. They could just make the haunted house out of this. Like, it could, they could easily 100% just use this castle for their haunted house and even make it a year-round haunt. They wouldn't have to build anything. So Eddy and Double D traverse into the castle, and Double D of course has some questions. He's like, this shouldn't make any sense. Like, logically speaking, there shouldn't be like a 11th century or 12th century European castle styled castle in a northern state, a northern part of the country like this, let alone on this side of the hemisphere. And Double D and Eddy's just like, all right, so some 1%er really likes making a sex castle, whatever. Like, let's just get out of here. Let's just get Ed before like someone calls the guards or anything. And Double D's like, well, that's the thing. Like, wouldn't you think if someone did own this place that they would have like guards or something, or security? And he's like, well, maybe they just got tired of this castle and built another one. You know how rich folk are. I know I want to be like one of the rich folk. And he's like, if I had money like this, I would build and buy castles left and right, just to say I own them, Double D. And he's like, your avarice knows no end, Eddy. Thank you. That wasn't a compliment. So eventually they hear Ed like crashing around in one of the lower levels, and eventually find their way in. Of course, Double D's getting creeped out by all this, and even Eddy's like, let's just get Ed and get him, and let's get out of here. We'll come back in the morning to do some renovation or whatever. So they go deeper into the castle. And what they discover is Ed has discovered a massive laboratory, and it's a very like 1930s-esque laboratory. And Double D is in shock of all this because he's like, "My word, this is borderline science fiction. Like, Ed, how did you find this place?" And Ed's just like, "I just fell down the stairs." And Eddy's just like, "Of course you did." But Eddy's now looking around. He's like, "Man, this place just keeps getting better and better. Like, we are gonna make a fortune, boys. We are just gonna be absolutely crushing it with them in Jawbreakers." However, as they're all like looking around, Double D discovers a journal, and it's written by Dr. Henry Frankenstein. And he's like, "Henry Frankenstein? Oh, that's odd." And he's like, Frankenstein was a book. It wasn't a real person. So he's like reading through it, and he discovers that Henry Frankenstein, basically, his research after capturing the monster or creating the monster led to him experimenting with the others, and that experiment went on to his great-great-granddaughter, Victoria Frankenstein. Victoria has long since abandoned the project and left the monsters here after a failed experiment went haywire. So she's left them all behind to be sealed away. Unfortunately, guess who woke them up the moment he saw them? That's right, Ed. Ed found them, woke up all the monsters, and they're not too happy of seeing. Some of them are kind of starving. So the Eds do the most logical thing and run. So what follows next is just a cavalcade of like Scooby-Doo-esque gags with the Eds trying to escape the monsters. Like one scene where the Frankenstein monster like is chasing Ed, and Ed basically takes out a thing of cheese and he goes, "Throw the cheese," and he just hucks it, and it makes like the Frankenstein's monster's face just start to melt away from the just disgustingness of the cheese he has in his pocket. You've also got the creature from the Black Lagoon trying to attack Eddy, who basically Eddy, how he stops him is just like he grabs a frying pan and just starts bashing him in the head. Double D encounters Dracula, and he's like, "You're a monster of fiction. You aren't real. I refuse to acknowledge your existence. I refute it." "Oh, that's not working. Me." And it's like Dracula puts his cape up, and he's like, "Oh, that's working. The power of scientific Christ compels you." The Eds are like just constantly chased through the castle until they discover a self-destruct switch, and Double D's like, "It can't be that easy," and Eddy's like, "Don't care, don't care, want to live." He just grabs the switch and throws it, and immediately the whole place starts coming down. All the monsters are like trying to scramble to get out, but of course the Eds get out while the monsters are trapped within the castle as it falls apart. The Eds, however, do manage to find a boat that will lead them across the lake and back to the cul-de-sac. And the Eds are just like, "Man, that was a crazy adventure. Like, but at least we got away from, Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman. We're all safe now." And that's when they hear a voice from behind them in the boat go, "Oh, that's too bad. I was really hoping to get in on the excitement." "Who said that?" "Allow me to introduce myself. I'm the Invisible Man." Turn around, the Invisible Man's smoking a cigarette. Immediately, all the Eds just scream and jump into the water and start swimming away, while the Invisible Man laughs hysterically. So there you go, guys. That is pretty much Ed, Edd, and Eddy Meet Frankenstein, or whatever I'm going to call this story. You guys tell me in the comments below what you guys think of it. I know, nothing too spectacular, but sometimes you just need fun. Other than that, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.